Hey YouTube, how you doing? Kevin here. Okay, so this is the points plate. I'm gonna put these in this so they're both how they be mounted on the bike. Both at the points plate at 12 and the what do you call it? The condenser at 7. And this is how I had to do it. I had to. You can see where I cut out. I did have to modify the plate to fit the 12-volt coil. Where you go right there, 12-volt coil, because it is definitely larger than the what do you call it than the factory 6-volt coils. So I used a cutting wheel and just cut them off, and then I used I smoothed it out here. I used a file and I used a small hacksaw, and I just put the blade backwards so it faced, and then I put it in back there so I could do the trimming up, and then I just grinded with a Dremel and cleaned it all up. Now one thing that I have to share with you is on the back side. This is the mount right here for the wiring to go through, come around. So you're going to have to modify the wiring a little bit. I am just going to I'm going to bend the wire I need to use and use heat shrink, and it will stay formed in that groove for that. That's how I plan on doing that. Once the plate's on, there's nothing in the back of the plate to move and cut the wiring anyway, so you're good there. Okay, so I'm just want to go over this right now because tomorrow's the testing on this, and I wanted to share with you guys what I did and how I did it. So I cut out this section right here. I stopped right here. I cut straight across here, and then you'll see right here. This is one of the mounts. Oh, this is the wire mount right here, the wiring hole. But I had to cut that out. That's completely missing out of it. And then I just basically cut straight across here. I left that one. See how it's basically into a triangle? You can see almost a triangle mark from where the other coil is. I cut along that line. So I left that post right there for the coil. There's no coil here, but we're using that mount instead of this one. See, the coil is big enough to go from this hole to this hole. And that's what I did right here. So basically, if you overlap them, oh, that's just dumb. Here we go. You can see how much real estate I cut out of it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this real quick and I'm going to trace what I did so you can see how much I actually cut out and how I did it. That way you can use this, hopefully this guide as a template. Okay, so now you can see what I did, how I cut it out. I cut out that whole chunk right there. And basically I'm just going to hold it here so you can just take an eyeball it, which is what I did. Okay, so that's the cut. I cut out that whole piece right there, the whole chunk, and made it look like this. Okay, so I still have to lengthen the wires. Now, for the coil and the regulator, okay, those came off of a Yamaha Moto 4 80cc is what those are off of, or the Chappie 80cc. Both of those are the same thing. So either the Chappie 80cc or the Moto 4 would have the same voltage regulator, and it's a real simple system. That coil has two wires coming off it, a white and a yellow with a red stripe, and it hooks up to the white with the yellow and red stripes right there. Those two wires hook directly up to those two wires, and then this red wire right here goes to your battery, and it's have a nice day, see you later, bye bye, you're all set. So that is a 12-volt regulated charging system. So I'm looking forward to doing this for you guys because this has been, I get a lot of questions on this conversion, and I've been working my butt off on it. I even made a dummy motor system for it for testing, so I'm not ripping apart a good bike. So I've gone through parts. I was going to use 2 of these ignition coil ignition coil pickups to generate the 12 volts, but then the regulators are all off, just a pain in the neck, and the wiring, the way it loops into each other. So we're not going to do that. We are going to use a different system that's going to work just fine. So basically I'm going to oh, and also too, the other part you're going to need is some spaces. These are aluminum spaces These were a 3/4 inch long, and I cut them down. And actually, let me go get a measure. Hold on one second. These aluminum spaces right here are a 1/4 inch outer diameter, and they are cut to 11/32. So 11/32 is what they are cut to. So when you do that, you're going to cut these aluminum tubes, and you can get these at any hardware store. I got these at my favorite place, Ben Franklin's Ace Hardware. I love that place. Great people over there. And if you have one by you, that's where you want to go. You can also find these tubes in the craft section over at Walmart. They have all kinds of little different things. And so there's that. So these are going to go under the charging coil. So I'm actually going to go and mount that real quick, and then I'll be right back. One more thing before I mount that charging coil. Actually, let me get this plate out of here. This is obsolete now. Okay, before I mount that, I want to tell you guys also what I had to do. These holes right here are slightly off. They do not directly bolt to the mounts like you'd want them to do. And also too, they have to come up basically to the edge here. So what I had to do is I had to oblong these holes here, and I did that using my Craftsman. I had a Milwaukee, I had a nice Milwaukee, and it died on me. So anyway, I used this one here, and I used a chainsaw file, a 7/32 file. Yeah, I believe that's what this one is. Hold on, let me confirm that for you so you'll know. Okay, the file is the 11/64, but you can use the 7/32 as well. They're very close, and either one will work. So what I did was I stuck this in my drill, and I stuck it in there with this off. And I basically went in the direction I needed it to go into, so it would mount properly and get it closer to the thing. So I had to basically go at that angle, at this angle. So if you're looking down on it, right here, I went at that angle, and then at that angle for the which way to oblong them. But when you go to do yours, you'll be able to see which way it go, which way you need to go. So I'm going to mount that real quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now I got it all bolted down, and you can see the spaces. Now I want to show you something else. See these grooves? Those spaces actually fit. I don't know if you can see how nice that is. They actually fit right into those grooves, and this thing gives you perfect clearance. Now, how did I get that clearance? You're probably asking. Well, I wanted enough space at the bottom here so it's not going to touch. Okay, basically it's going to sit flat if the bottom was filled in. And I did not want this coil to be taller than this coil because it could rub. You don't want to rub on the inside of the flywheel, so it's very critical. So follow my measurements in this video to assure that this coil is not going to be too high and rub on the inside of the flywheel, because then that would just simply suck. So that's what we're planning on doing right there, is that system, and bolt it up nice and strong, and it looks like it's going to be perfect for the mag. So it's not going to make any contact with the mag, but it should have a good air gap. That's very important. And now for the rest of it, I'm going to mount the points and the mag, charge coil and the condenser. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I had to cut the black insulation off, and I'm going to use heat shrink. Just going to do a couple of heat shrink tubes over it, and it's going to look nice and pretty. And if you want, you can use colored ones. They make green ones. You can do Kawasaki green. If you plan on painting your motor, you can do different colors. Or if you just want the standard black or gray, you can go with that. A couple of things I wanted to remind you of. Whenever you're doing this modification, don't forget your green wire for your neutral safety switch when you put that in the harness, because if you don't, you won't have a neutral safety light. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And I'll be right back. I'm going to see if I can find that wire, and I'll show you how that goes. Well, I seem to have misplaced where I put that green wire, but I'm going to do this anyway without it. When you have the green wire, that is going to come down on your harness. Okay, you get your length of your thumb, put your thumb there, and you want to go about, I don't know, about 2 inches. Measure out 2 inches from here to that, what do you call it there, where you're going to make your bend in your wire, and then you want 2 inches of the wire going up. So let me see if I can pretend this installation is the wire. Okay, you're going to take 2 inches like that, then you're going to bend it in half, put it up there 2 inches, and that's how you're going to set your wire in. That way you can plug in your neutral safety switch. So hopefully that helps you. Hopefully you can understand what I meant by that. Gives you a little bit of space to plug your wire in. So you have to make sure you put that in there before you heat shrink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide my heat shrink on. I'm going to cut a 2-inch piece. Here's how I'm going to explain to you. I'm going to cut a 2-inch piece. I'm going to slide it over this. Okay? Well, actually, hold on. Here's the back side. My installation is going to, my heat shrink is going to go from here all the way up through. So after you do your installation, your what do you call it, the heat shrink, go from here, go 2 inches past here, and then cut the heat shrink. Then you slide it on and you heat it, you shrink it. Then when you flip this back over, when you go to put the green wire in the circuit, have it touch here, bend it up, and that's where you're going to put your heat shrink up. That's where you're going to start your heat shrink, and then go to do the rest of the wiring. So as long as you have that 2-inch pigtail sticking out, you're all right to go. And that's pretty much it for that. And then the green wire and the green and the black wire are going to have to be reconnected. Technically you don't have to cut off the black wire. You can leave the black wire but this was already cut up. So you can leave your black wire connected. The only thing you're going to have to do is pull it through. So after you cut the insulation. So, and that, my friends, is pretty much how you make a 12-volt conversion on the what do you call it, the Kawasaki KE100s, the KM100s. If you wanted to put this in a KD, you could, if you wanted to run lights. And then you get your regulator. There is no part number on this regulator, none. So it came off of a Yamaha Moto 4 80 cc's, and the same ones used on the chaps, or chappy, whatever you want to call them, chaps. So champs. I think it's either champs or chaps. I forgot what four-wheeler it's called, but when you start typing in, it'll automatically fill in on the Google search. Thank God for Google. So I have to solder. I have to make these 2 wires longer. The white is going to go to the white on here, and the yellow with the red stripe is going to go to this yellow with red stripe. And then this red wire is going to go to a 12-volt battery. And we are going to have ourselves a 12-volt charging system. However, I believe this is 6-volt. This is still for your coil. You're not changing your ignition. So when you go to do this, after you get this in, you're going to have to change every single light bulb on your bike. Every one of them. Your directionals are going to now be 1156s. Your tail light is now going to be an 1157. And your headlight will not work. Once you turn it on, you will blow out your headlight. So you're going to need to replace your headlight. I'm going to give you guys a diameter of a, not diameter, but a headlight that will work. If you got a headlight assembly from a Yamaha Virago, that would fit right into that box. It's the same diameter box. So you'd have to do some modification, but nothing too dramatic. I'm actually going to do a video on headlight, my headlight modification on this on a bucket, and show you how that came out. But that's after we get this done. This has not been tested yet. I'm doing this video to show you what I use for parts and pieces, from what I took the parts and pieces off of, what you have to do to cut them out, how how the distance is, and all that other stuff. So, and how I got to this point. Okay, so I am going to heat shrink the wiring and extend these 2 wires longer because they are too short. So I want them to come up out of the motor. and I am not using the green wire on this. This is just for testing. So this is not going in any of my bikes. This is because you guys have requested, and so many have requested, a 12-volt conversion. So I'm not adding the green wire. I am going to heat shrink it, because these wires right here, when you heat shrink them, you can actually make them go in any direction you want. And I'm going to give you guys a little tip. Okay, here's a little tip for you. When you get the wires installed in your installation, or insulation, or your heat shrink, if you will, this is a coat hanger right here. You can cut off a small piece of the coat hanger, bend it to conform this right here like this, so it goes where you want it to go, and then when you heat shrink it, it will be all, it would just stay in that spot where you wanted it. So keep that in mind. You can use a metal coat hanger and bend it. You could even, if you were worried about it chafing, you can even put a small piece of heat insulation or heat shrink over that one, and then heat shrink them all together again. You can use copper wire. Copper wire is really good. This is overkill. This is really thick stuff. I would not use that, but you could use a coat hanger, which is what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a small piece of coat hanger, and just so it doesn't chafe or have any sharp edges, I'm going to take a file and clean up the edges so it's smooth all the way around. I'm going to throw a piece of heat shrink over it just for the sake of doing it. Heat shrink it, bend it to where I want, so I get, because remember, the bracket was right here. It was right here that holds these wires. So we're not going to have, the only bracket we're going to have is this one. And this is the output. This is where they normally come out anyway. So we're missing a clamp right here, and then the crankshaft that's spinning right here. We don't want that to go in there and touch. So we're going to heat shrink it. We're going to tie it back, and when I get done, it's going to be contoured to where we want, which is pretty damn cool, I think. So that's the route we're going in, and this is the mag that I will be using on our test engine, and yeah, it worked out pretty well. So all the modifications, all the information you're going to need to cut your mag plate and do the modifications are here. This is obviously now a permanent fix. If you're worried about these mag plates, you can get these on eBay. This is going to be tucked up underneath it. You won't even see that. It's all going to be heat shrinked in, so you can't have anything in the way right here. This has to be flat. So if you have to use a zip tie to tie them back, whatever you have to get those back. You can even use twist ties from like a trash bag and then cut it, cut them back, because they're thinner. You know what I mean? For clearance reasons. So keep that in mind. So yeah, this is pretty cool. So this is going on tomorrow. I'm going to extend the wires tonight, solder my pigtailies on, and then I'll finish the wiring tomorrow. But that's going to be pretty damn cool. So that's the route that I'm going in with it, and tomorrow is going to be, this is all going to be mounted on tomorrow, and this is going to be test number 1 on the 12-volt conversion. Thank you for all your support. I really appreciate your support, and I'm really glad that I'm able to do these videos for you guys and help you with this. And any questions you have, please ask them. I enjoy the questions, I enjoy the comments, and most of all, I'm doing this right here on request, and I like doing videos on request. I have brakes coming up, a top end coming up on a these are all in KE100s. A top end coming up, a clutch coming up. I mean, we got some stuff going on. I did one on petcocks that are tight and stiff. I did, I got a lot of videos, and a lot of the KE videos that I have, if you see something under KM or KD, those videos also pertain to the KE100. So please keep that in mind. Those are all the same bike. And a lot of people don't realize that those all have the same, like the ignition systems, the carburation systems. Those are all the same on all these bikes, and it's pretty cool that I'm able to do these because I get so many of them. Able to do these videos with all these different problems. So it's like tech support here, and any information that you may have on these bikes too, problems and stuff like that, or specialty repairs. by all means, please share them. It's very important. There's no support for these bikes, and they're fun little bikes, and they are loved by many people. So, as always, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for comments, likes, and shares. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night.